Okay, so I'm going to present my two book report projects. So my first one I read, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. And so for this assignment, I decided to create a flip book. Some of my writing spilled over, but it's fine. It's fine. So I decided to create a flip book, and in the class I am doing field experience in, they are also doing book reports. They do file folder book reports, and they have to create their own cover kind of based off the book. They can't copy the book cover, which I thought was really neat and inventive. And it helped to teach that. It just gives them the art elements. So I chose to make my own cover for both of these projects. So this is my cover for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And then all of the labels, or all the tabs are labeled, so you could just flip, like if you just wanted characters, like you could flip there. So my first one is plot. And so this is what I wrote for plot, so I'll just read through it very quickly. Margaret is a preteen girl that gets uprooted from her home in New York and is moved to Farbrook, New Jersey. She soon meets Nancy Wheeler, who's the same age and in the same class with Margaret. Nancy's older brother, Evan, has a friend named Moose, and Margaret adores him. Nancy is a very mature girl and introduces Margaret to Jamie and Gretchen. The four girls start a club called the 4PTS, which is the 4 Preteen Sensations, where they share crushes, period stories, and bra horrors. However, Margaret's parents have chosen to raise her without a religion, but she secretly talks to God all the time. Margaret's mother, Barbara, does not get along with her parents, but they come to visit anyway, and after a huge argument between everyone, Margaret decides she doesn't need God. Time passes, and she decides she really does need him. She also believes that her parents should tell kids their religion because it is tricky to figure out. Margaret learns about growing up, how to deal with boys, how important words are, and yes, her period. So that's my plot summary. And then for setting, this story takes place in Farbrook, New Jersey, over the course of a school year, which I wrote August to May, but I actually meant September to June. And it seems to be a small, quiet little community. So I attempted to draw the state of New Jersey, and then I just wrote Farbrook, New Jersey. Now, the next few pages are rough, but it's okay. I'm going to school to be a teacher, not an artist. So I picked 5 main characters and 5 minor characters because there are a lot of characters in this book, but some of them we only meet like twice, and so I didn't feel like it was worth my time to really go over them. So I picked 5. I feel like even if I was assigning this to a class, I feel like 5 gives me a good idea if they really read the book, character development, character analysis, like that kind of thing. So obviously I did Margaret. Her name is Margaret Ann Simon, and Margaret is a preteen girl who is forced to live in New Jersey. She secretly talks to God. She's also naive and slightly awkward, but she's very curious to learn about everything she can, and she is part of the 4PTS. The next one is Gretchen Potter. Gretchen's dad is a doctor in town. Gretchen is Jewish and attends Hebrew school, which none of her other friends do. Gretchen is very laid back, but she is curious like Margaret, and she is in the 4PTSs, and she is the first girl in the group to get her period. The next one is Nancy Wheeler, and Nancy is very mature. She is the leader of the group, and though she thinks she knows everything about growing up, she really doesn't, and she is Margaret's best friend. She is part of the 4PTSs, and she learns a lot about growing up because she actually lies about getting her period, and then when she actually gets it, she like totally freaks out. And then the next one is Janie Loomis. And Janie is very curious like Margaret, but is really scared and quiet. She's the most reserved of the whole group. And then her and Margaret are both very shy and kind of awkward. By the end of the book, Janie still didn't have her period, so she's the very last girl. The next one I chose was Sylvia Simon, and Sylvia Simon is Margaret's her paternal grandmother. So Sylvia is Margaret's paternal grandmother. Sylvia wants Margaret to be Jewish, but respects her choice to try all religions, and she always keeps tabs on Margaret. She calls her mom like multiple times a week to make sure she's properly taking care of Margaret. For my minor characters, I decided to not draw them because they aren't as well described, and even like Janie and Gretchen, I kind of had to make up because they don't really have a ton of physical descriptions for those two. but they're like present through the whole book. So I chose 5 minor characters. I chose Miles J. Benedict Jr., and he is the teacher for Margaret's 6th grade class. It is his first year's teaching. At the beginning of the year, he assigns a project, and it's like a year-long thing, and Margaret decides to do hers over religion, and that's kind of when she tries out all the churches, and she kind of figures out who she is. Barbara Simon is Margaret's mom, and she's very overprotective, and she is also an artist. She paints fruits and vegetables and flowers, as Margaret tells us. And she's always very honest and open with Margaret, though. She doesn't really try to hide anything. Herb Simon is Margaret's dad, and he is an insurance agent in the city. And he is a wannabe handyman and a wannabe suburban man, but he's not very good at it. At the very beginning of the book, the first time he mows the lawn, he loses his fingers. So, there's that. Laura Danker. Laura Danker is the girl who does not have any friends and is picked on because she's the most well-developed girl in the class. We later learn that she is Catholic, which leads Margaret to confession. Laura is the girl that nobody wants to be in middle school, but somebody always is in middle school. And she is someone that gets made fun of in middle school, but then like totally changes the world one day. She was judged solely based on her appearance. And in middle school, it's just how kids are. But it really made you think. Laura Danker is a very special character to me. And then last, I did Philip Leroy. He is the cutest boy in the class, and every girl loves him. And he actually kisses Margaret in a closet. They're playing a game at a birthday party, and Philip kisses Margaret, and that's her first kiss. So that's pretty cool. So those are the 5 minor characters I chose. And then, so for my, like, situation, also in the 4th grade class I'm in, on the back, they have to do an about the author and a book review. And so I kind of altered it to make it fit me. So I did a book review page. And, so I said, why read? This book is a coming, so, like, this would be my book. This book is a coming-of-age story. For kids in their preteens, this book makes life a little less scary. For adults, it allows us to look back on this age and offer memory or two. It is very heartwarming. Get ready to see what Margaret experiences. And then, out of how many stars? So I said out of 5 stars, it earns 5 out of 5 for me. It was a quick read. It took me about 2.5 hours to read it. It was a very quick read, but it is also funny, entertaining, and Bloom makes you feel like part of the story. So you really feel like you're right there with 4 PPSs, for sure. And the next book I read was Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume. And this, I found it in the back of the literature book. So I am able, so the school that I field experience teach at, I went to school at, and like the teacher I field experience with was my 4th grade teacher. But the librarian is very generous and helps me and allows me to check out books from the school library because there's such an abundance, and they're much more tailored to what we need for this class. So I found this in the back of the book, and I just wrote down like 6 or 7 things that I thought, oh, that would be like a quick, cute little read. Like, I'll just read that. And I wrote down Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, and I went in there to get all 6, and I walked out with only Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. This book was interesting. It was not my favorite, which I was very disappointed about because it was very talked up. And I even the 5th grade teacher was like, oh my gosh, like, a few of my kids are reading that now, and like, they love it. I was not very impressed. And I love Judy Blume. I've been reading Judy Blume for years. I can't believe Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret fell under my radar. But I've read Judy Blume for years, and so I was very disappointed with this book. However, I did the report. So I did a brochure for this one because I don't see many book reports and brochure version, and I love making brochures, so I was here for it. So I once again did like the create your own cover, and in the story, there's a turtle named Dribble that does not make it to the end, but that's okay. And so I drew Dribble on the front, and I just colored it gray. And then on the inside, I'm gonna just fold it. So this is what my plot page looks like. And so for the plot, I wrote Peter Hatcher is Peter Hatchet. Peter Hatchet. Am I right? Peter Hatcher. Why I have such a problem with this? And I wrote T instead of R. Anyway, Peter Hatcher is a 9-year-old boy who lives with his mother, father, and 2-year-old brother, Farley Drexel, called Fudge. Peter has to make a lot of sacrifices for his brother, but he often feels unappreciated. Peter wins a turtle at a birthday party and names him Dribble. Unfortunately, Fudge will not stay out of Peter's room, and because of this, he eats Peter's turtle, killing him. Fudge eats many things that do not belong to him over the course of the book, and at the end, Peter receives a puppy and names him Turtle in honor to tribute his late friend. So down here, I just wrote the terrible twos, and then for the next one, I did characters, and so I drew their little apartment building. And I picked 5 characters for this as well. A lot of characters didn't play a main role, and characters weren't super well developed, so it was kind of hard to do this. And the mother never is actually given the name. They just call her Mother. So anyway. So Peter Hatcher is 9 years old. He loves his turtle. He hates his little brother. And he is frustrated with his mom for not watching Fudge better. So what happens a lot in this book is Peter gets frustrated with his mom because he doesn't feel like Fudge is being disciplined enough for the things he's doing. Farley Drexel Hatcher is 2.5 years old, and he's Peter's little brother. And he will only do something after watch Peter doing it. So he'll only eat certain foods after watching Peter. He gets in a TV commercial, and he'll only ride the tricycle after he watches Peter. And he's very mischievous. He's always getting in things he knows he shouldn't. And then the mother, she does not discipline Fudge too much, and she tries to do everything to kind of keep everybody happy. And she talks about being tired a lot, but she's not super well developed as a character. And then Warren Hatcher is the father. He's an advertiser, and he is the only one who disciplines Fudge, so he's like the hammer, so some say. And then Jimmy Fargo, he lives in the same building as Peter, and he's the same age as Peter, and he's Peter's best friend. And he has been mugged 3 times. Twice for his bicycle. So, poor Jimmy Fargo. Tough break. And then I did the setting, and the setting is all over New York. And I said their pace of life definitely seems fast and full of energy, so I wrote the big, and then I drew an apple. And then for the last little page, I did the book review and rating again. And so for the book review, I said this book portrays the issues most older siblings have with younger siblings. It will absolutely bring a smile to your face, especially reading everything Fudge eats. It was entertaining if you're just reading it for entertainment. Like, does that make sense? If you're reading it to, like, try to do, like, a project over, it's difficult. And then for ratings, I said out of 5 stars, I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. While there were some humorous parts, I would have liked some more well-rounded characters. So, these are the 2 book reports I chose to do. And I'm interested to see what other book reports other people did.